Hey y'all, hey, it's your girl Lorna. Here with Live with Lorna from Event Y'all know how it goes. Hey, I'm fresh back in the chair, and so I'm gonna have to get back in the swing of things. But hey, y'all, hey, it's your girl Lorna with Event Professionals Marketplace, and we're doing a live with Lorna tonight. We have with us Mr. Benjamin Dennis, and I'm gonna go ahead and give full disclaimer in case y'all can't already see. This is my very, very handsome baby brother, who's from Frisco, Texas, and I just want to talk with him about something tonight, that it's twofold for me. The first thing is, he is the very proud dad of two boys that are dealing with neurodiversity. And for those of you who are not sure what that is, they are on the autism spectrum. And the second piece of it is, I want to give this man his flowers. Okay. Um, I have seen him grow tremendously throughout this journey, and I've been pulling on his coattails to share this journey with the public for multiple reasons for quite some time, and he has finally relented. Y'all know the type of person I am. I believe in sharing everything, sometimes a little too much. But if it's going to help somebody else, I think we have an obligation as God blesses us and we grow to share. So I just wanted to sit and talk with him. This is the first of my video blog that I'm launching. And I thought this was a really cool topic because, like I said, we're having increasing numbers of diagnosis of people with autism. And I have seen this man work miracles with two little boys that are near and dear to my heart. I'm not going to say they're little boys, they're men now.
Yeah.
But from infants up, he has done an amazing job. And I just want him to share a little bit about this new project that he is launching and what he hopes will come of it. So, BJ, can you tell us a little bit about the project and, navigating neurodiversity with Ben and David?
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate the time. Actually, Lorna has been pushing me to do this for a little while, and I've been hesitant, as she stated, but I always wanted to do something to kind of give back because of the experience that we've had and the walk. And I know it's sometimes more difficult for some people. So I wanted to kind of give back a little information wise and kind of put subjects on the table for people because sometimes people might feel uncomfortable talking about it or discussing it with others. And there's so many of us that are dealing with this. I figured this would be a good thing to do. And, it's something that allows me to highlight some of the things that I do with the boys. As she stated, the YouTube channel is called Navigating Neurodiversity with Ben and David. And uh, I just wanted to reach out to some of the other parents who might be starting this journey and those who are already on this walk who might have information that they can share with me, because by no means do I want to come off as someone who is an expert and knows everything and has all the answers, because I want to learn something from the people as well. I feel like sharing information within different avenues for parents not only brings about takes away a level of stress, but it also helps others to learn, and we can learn from each other in different techniques and situations.
Okay, cool. So, listen, initially, because I've been pulling at you, like you said, and like I said, for a long time about getting this channel started and sharing information with other people who may be going through it that could benefit from just what you've gone through, what you've learned on the journey. And you were a little bit hesitant at first about starting this channel. Can you tell me why you were feeling that way?
Well, initially, I thought about just how much exposure I wanted the boys to, how much I wanted to expose the world to them, and as far as our day to day routines. it's just a little different. And not to say by any means was it, you know, like, oh, I was hesitant because of embarrassment or anything like that. Because as I always state, and I always say this, and you've heard me say this, I don't have to be their dad. I get to be their dad.
Yeah.
It's a gift for me because it's opened my eyes to so many different things. And I always tend to say that, you know, children and people who are neurodiverse, as I call it, they use actually more brain power than we do, and they have more brain capacity at use, and they just have a different way of seeing things, and sometimes they can't process the information as smoothly as we might. But I definitely have seen the gifts in my boys and the things that they do, and that would be things that kind of blow my mind actually. So it's really been an eye opener, and I really appreciated you know, being on that walk and learning the way that I have. So I just wanted to share those experiences with people because, as I stated, sometimes it's rough and challenging, sometimes it's beautiful and rewarding, and just like regular life with anybody, there's ups and downs. But sometimes people just need to know that there's people walking with them and there for them, and supporting them when they're in that valley, when they're in that low time and they're frustrated and they don't know what to do with their child. Then sometimes, you know, they can come to this community, share questions, we can discuss things and see if we can find answers to help each other, because that's what it's all about for me. I always stated, if I was ever to have a abundance of money, I would want to help the parents of children who are on the autism spectrum, because sometimes they don't know where to turn. I mean, we've had so many situations to deal with, from ARD meetings at school to behaviors, diet issues as far as what they will eat and what they won't, making sure they get their nutrients and everything, and finding different ways. As you know, being on this journey with us, you've seen how we started with, you know, the boys just basically eating nuggets and French fries,
Right.
basically. And
Right.
like, we were struggling with that for so long, and then gradually over the years we found different ways, and now it's a beautiful thing. They're able to eat a variety of different things. They're still picky, but they eat so many different things, and they're so different now. And I know that's just with, you know, the trial and error and the prayers and everything that we've been covering them with, and just trying to find the norm in the situation, and what we need to do as parents, instead of worrying about how we can adjust the children. We're trying to find our way to be the best parents that we can be for them, and make life as comfortable for them as we can.
So this channel will cover like your journey, different trials and tribulations. Well, I like to call them challenging opportunities, because I see every challenge as an opportunity to learn something that's going to be beneficial, not only for ourselves, but for other people. But things like decisions that you have to make with their schooling, getting them to eat a variety of things so that their nutrition is balanced, allowing them to learn how to do things and not hinder them by our mindset. And I'm saying that trying to quote you, because that's one of the big things
Yeah.
that you swear by. And I want you to be able to share a little bit about that. Um, let me say in about 3 minutes, because I have a few more questions I want to ask you, and
Okay.
I'm going to circle back around to that.
No
Okay. So if I forget, you remind me. But
problem.
first of all, tell us a little bit about your backstory. Let the people know what you do. Who is Benjamin Dennis? And I mean, come on now, shine. Don't be modest. Don't play with me.
Oh no, well, you mean all the way back from the start when we started with them?
I'm not talking about Ben and David. I'm talking about Benjamin David.
Yeah.
You. What do you do? Who are you?
Well,
What do you do beyond being Ben and David's dad?
well, right now, currently, I do commercial and film work. I've done a few commercial ads, different little things for Foster Grant, cons, uh, different healthcare devices. I've been in a couple of little movies, a Lifetime movie called the man with my husband's face. And that's that's something that I've done recently. And I'm actually I'm going to be filming a Western pilot in California next year, or at least this coming year, to 2025 in February, we start filming. So that's something that I enjoy as far as a hobby. I kind of fell into it. As you know, I just always would do little print ads and everything because you kind of started me in that back in the day when you guys were doing it. And then it kind of snowballed. As you know, when Dad and I went down to Shreveport and we were extras in a movie, and that was the coolest day, as you know, how close we were to our dad.
Right.
And and it was just a special day for me, and it was just like so fun. And then I think I kind of got the bug after that. So in between times of course, raising the kids, because that's paramount and just the zenith of my life, it's like I try to, do those things. And it's also a way to incorporate and make extra money and everything like that. So it's kind of a blessing.
So you're violating one of the cardinal rules of sitting in the chair when you're talking to Lorna. Ain't nothing you do little. Okay. You keep saying
All right.
a little Lifetime. Do you know how many people want to be in a Lifetime movie? And then let's just say this. You're also a chef. You've been
I
on
forgot about that portion.
a show with Bobby Flay.
Actually, that kind of tied in with the boys, because I went on Worst Cooks in America, and I think it was I don't know what season that was. It was the 2012 season. But I was on that show. I went on that show specifically because of the challenges that we had at home with preparing meals for the boys, because I was struggling trying to figure out, okay, I can't go to the store and keep spending money buying chicken nuggets and French fries. I needed to expand the menu and be able to prepare different things for them. So I was like, okay, where else could I learn to, get cooking lessons from Bobby Flay? And it was a great experience. I learned so much, and it actually kind of opened the door, kind of with just like with acting, it kind of opened up another passion that I didn't even know I had. I used to, as you know, watch you cook, and always ask you to cook specific meals, and it was I always enjoyed a good meal. So the thing for me was, once I started and I knew I could do those things, it actually turned into a passion of mine. So I actually enjoy cooking now, and trying to replicate meals when we go out to different restaurants or whatever. So it's I think it all kind of ties in, and that's the blessing in it, because I went for, learning how to do more meals for the boys and expand and eat healthier, because I know there were certain processed foods and things that they shouldn't be eating anyway. So I didn't need to feed them fast foods. So once I went and learned those things on the show and started preparing meals, it was better for me and my wife as well, because it was like, okay, we need to eat healthy as well. So it kind of touched us, and it kicked our menu up a notch, and it allowed us to get our health in order as well. So it was kind of a blessing regardless in the long term, because I think all those things tie in and they happen the way they're supposed to. And I ended up developing a passion for it, and it just turned out to be quite a blessing.
And let me say, we're not going to expound on this, but we both cut our TV teeth for your wedding when they did your wedding from Married Away in Jamaica.
That's
when
right.
you and your wife got married. So
we got married actually.
We true to this thing. We ain't new to this thing.
Yeah, hey, we got married on. That was another way. Your brother was just honestly being cheap, honestly, and I figured if we could get married on TV and save a little money. Hey, and it ended up being a great production, and we had a wedding that was beyond our wildest dreams. So
and it gave me a little bit of shine as a new event designer. I was here for it, and I still have that on my resume. So a lot of people don't know that little tidbit about me.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. And that's what I mean by these things God places in our lives and situations, and we have to look at the benefit, even when we think it could be a negative or a problem in our lives. We have to look at what we can take from it and learn from it and move forward, because there's always a benefit, or even if it's learning, in every situation that you go through. It's going to make you tougher, even if it's adverse situations. So I
Right.
try to look at things like that. But I know that with the person that I am, that God's going to put these things in my path, and he's going to make me a better man overall.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about Ben and David. Tell me about their personalities, what they like. What are they like?
Oh my God. Well, Ben, he's the oldest. He is 17 now. And
Mhm.
he's very intelligent as far as computers and things. And we noticed that at a young age for him. I know he used to initially he would spend a lot of time on the computer, and in the early
Mhm.
we didn't really know what we were doing, honestly, as far as what we needed to do
Right.
to nurture the relationship and be there for him. So we tried to utilize a lot of computer time with him, and I noticed that he would watch his favorite cartoons, which was Wubsy at the time, and he would memorize the whole script of the movie, of the show, and then he would record it on his phone from the TV. A little bouncy, but he
Right.
would record it. Go back. He would get on the computer, mute all the sound. Then he would go back and read from memory all of the script and put his voice over the video. So, and I was amazed because first of all, nobody taught him this. I mean, we're not computer whizzes by any means. I have no video editing experience, and it was just like I was amazed at. I looked at some of his videos, and he had created several. I mean, this was not like a one-time thing. He had created a little library of these, and he would just read from, well, not read. I won't say read.
Recite from memory.
Yeah, he was reciting it from memory.
And
It was
and
his
tell
voice,
the
and it was
people
perfectly tied in with the lips and the motions,
everything
everything.
was on point. Tell the
And
people
it
how
was,
old
yeah,
Ben was when Ben was doing this.
he was probably around 6 or 7 years old when he was doing this.
Mhm. And then let me just add this because I'm the auntie, so I've been around since day one. As a matter of fact, I was there
When he
when
was
Ben
born.
was born,
That's
you
right.
know. But the little sucker could speak Portuguese. He
Oh,
speaks several languages. Like he would watch these cartoons in different languages and he would memorize. And to the degree that in Spanish, when he went to one of his schools, and now I'm taking over your story, one of his
okay.
teachers spoke Spanish,
That's right.
and she noticed that he would laugh at the appropriate time, do all things, and she wanted to know if he was bilingual. She says, "Does Ben speak Spanish? Because when I'm speaking Spanish, he understands fully everything that I'm saying, and it's a fact. He taught his own self
Taught
that
himself, and he still watches
Portuguese."
shows from
Mhm,
time to time. I'll go in his room and he's watching a show in Spanish or a different language, and
mhm.
he'll recite those things still to this day. So,
Yeah,
like I said,
he's
it's more
brilliant.
advanced than we are, because I feel like when you get to a certain age as an adult, we're kind of afraid to take on those different learning patterns or abilities, and it's just like, also, the kid's mind is so free. They're going to try anything and do whatever they want, and he's done a lot of different things. But that was one thing with the computers and the video editing. It was all self-taught. I'll just say this, and this is just being totally transparent.
Okay.
As he got a little older, I actually noticed that I came in one day and he was looking at a site that he shouldn't be looking at, let's just say.
Oh.
And I came in, I peeked around the corner and I saw it. I was like, oh my God, he's looking at this adult site.
Mhm,
And came into the room. This was probably when he was about 12. Come
mhm.
in the room, screen drops immediately. Boom. And so I'm thinking, I'm a little bit computer savvy. I'm ahead of him. I'm like, oh, okay, Ben. I'm gonna look and see. Let daddy see what you're working on. So I go to the history, nothing there, nothing at all. Window was dropped, it's gone. The little sucker had learned how to utilize ghost mode or whatever that is. I don't know. And he figured out how
Incognito.
to, yeah, he kept it from us.
Mhm.
But that showed that his mind was so advanced, because, as I stated, while you're thinking and putting limits on these children.
He's doing
There are
typical boy
many
stuff.
things-
Pretend.
exactly. They're doing things that you couldn't even fathom or think yourself, because I was thinking, okay, not only does he know he shouldn't be on this site, because as soon as I enter the room, he drops the window, but he also had the foresight to know, hey, if he comes in here and looks, I don't need to show it even in the history. And this is something that I never taught him, because if I'd known that when I was younger, I might have used it.
Yeah, we're not going into that.
Okay, but anyway.
But no.
Anyway.
But yeah, and he's quite the artist as well. I have seen
Oh
you. You send me pictures all the time of. First of all, it started with puzzles. He could put together 1,000-piece puzzle in no time. Then we graduated to Legos, and he could put. You get him a Lego set that would take the average person 2 weeks to put together. Give him 24 hours, if that's even necessary. And now he has this love for Play-Doh. He can look at an object and make it in these tiny Play-Doh replicas. A thermometer,
Yes.
A Dots candy box, all sorts of things. Like
candy boxes, fruit, cakes, thermometers. He's made a variety of different things. And the different thing is that, and this is where I say that you can't place limits on your children, because he's been doing this for years. But if you go in his room and you would see it, he uses a knife, like a steak knife, toothpicks, needles, all these little intricate little items that usually you wouldn't say, oh, I wouldn't let my kid, I don't need my kid to play with a knife or, a straight pen or any of this stuff. But we learned over time that, one, he's responsible with it. He knows what it's for, and when it's done, and when he's done using it, he takes it back and he puts it back and he cleans up. And it's just, that's why I said most people would say, oh, if I have a kid, that's on the autism spectrum, I would never let them handle a knife, or, I'm not saying that anyone should without, supervision. But like I said, these are things that we've learned over the years that he enjoys doing. And it's just brought out his creative side. And it's actually quite relaxing for him, because we've gone to the barbershop, and there were 2 adult barbers the last time we were there, and they were working on a Marvel puzzle. And they had been working on it all day long. And they were like, oh, we can't get this last piece. It was like half the puzzle left, and we can't get it. So me and the boys were in there getting our haircuts. I told him, I said, hey, my son, he can finish that puzzle for you. They thought I was joking. They started laughing. I said, no, I'm serious, because they were stumped. They couldn't get it because it was a lot of the same color, hard to find those pieces. I said, if we're going to be in here a couple of hours, I said, you give him 2 hours, he'll finish that puzzle easy. And they said, okay. Got his haircut. He went over and started working on the puzzle. I went in the chair. I was in the chair about 30, 40 minutes. Brother got in the chair about another 30 minutes. We came back to the front of the barbershop. Puzzle done. Pictures. They were amazed, and they were like, oh my God, we've been working on that all day. We couldn't get it. I said, he does this in his sleep. He does these puzzles. He can do all types of things. And it's just like, he's very analytical, as you know. Right. He has high taste, because he is asked to go. That
he wanted a night at the Hyatt Regency.
The Hyatt Regency, as he called it, the Hyatt Regency.
Yes,
that's right. And he requested a night at the Hyatt Regency because he wanted to. He loves hotels for some reason. He loves
laundry, honey.
Yeah, he loves a good restaurant. He loves nice hotels. He's asked to go to actually Hawaii, which I'm trying to make, God willing, trying to make happen.
Money for that.
He wants to go to Hawaii for his graduation, and he loves these things. And anytime we go on trips, he gets excited. He loves to fly on the plane. It's just a good experience. And for me, and for any parent that knows, of course, you want to give your kids and reward them with things that they enjoy, especially with children, and they've done the things that they need to. And he's always so respectful, and he asks, and I always have to tell him, because he'll come in and he'll say, Friday, November, whatever date, and then he'll state what he wants to do. And I'm saying, okay, just say, hey, Dad, I want to do such and such. Or like a couple of weeks ago, we took him to the dentist, and I'll be uploading footage of that because that's been an episode, especially little sharp.
Right.
He hated that, but we were able to work through it. We practiced at home with the utensil and got him prepared for it. And then I said, Ben, if you can get yourself, let the dentist clean your teeth, go to Dave and Buster's. That's one of his favorite places. So as soon as we got out of the chair and he knew that he had done a good job, Friday, December, whatever, Dave and Buster's at 8 p.m.
And then you know what time.
Yeah.
And listen, he has the right to do that. So
yes, yeah.
We
did reward him, so it worked out.
Cool. So let's swing on around to Mr. David, whom I call Day Baby. That's my sweet, sweet, sweet. Ben loves us all, but he's not
more
a tactile person. Yeah. Ben, he'll give you a hug, but you got to ease up on that thing, and he gone one time, and now I'm out of here. David, on the other hand, loves to be loved. He's quite the different young man. So let's talk a little bit about Dave.
Yeah, David is so loving and caring, and not to say that Ben isn't. As you said, Ben is a little more independent. He will show his love and he'll move on. David is more the type that will sit up under you. He'll, get him a little spot. He'll want to watch television with you.
He likes to struggle.
Yeah, and he started out, my son David, he did start out nonverbal for so many years, and he still communicates in a whisper now. But by the same token, he's always been so affectionate and so helpful. To this day, just this past summer, we were able to secure them jobs through a work program, and we'll discuss that for some parents, at least in Texas and in different states, what kind of contacts they can make as far as getting those their children in work programs, because it's a very beneficial program. But just this past summer, David and Ben were able to secure jobs with Big Lots and Party City. And David worked at Big Lots, and he would go in mornings, get the floors ready. He'd sweep floors, vacuum, get the stock straightened out and everything. So he was really working hard, but the thing that he loves now, he loves the vacuum. He comes home now, he'll vacuum this house 2 times a day. And I'm talking upstairs, downstairs. If you're eating and you finish your plate and you set it to the side, he's grabbing it.
Or you might not be finished and he gonna grab
it. Yes, you might not be finished and he'll grab it. But he's so helpful and he's so loving, and he's just really quiet. And the thing that we've been working on with him lately, and this is another thing that I encourage all the parents to do, is get that relationship with their instructors and their teachers at school. And I say that because a lot of parents, we send our children to school, and even if we know the teacher, we really don't develop a program. Like for us, we wanted to have a program where we know exactly what they're doing, so we can replicate it at home and enforce it and have it going 24/7 for our children. Because as I always state, I love, and I feel that, of course, educators are severely underpaid. But if any of us can look back over any time of our lives, we're standing on the shoulders of some educator, some teacher who made a difference in our lives, and have impressed upon us what we wanted to do. And they are people who are shaping and molding our children. So this is the type of relationship that we all need, to know who these instructors are, working with them and appreciating them and letting them know that we appreciate the job they're doing. So anyway, David is so helpful, and now he just vacuums all the time. He's always trying to clean up. He's so helpful. He loves retro video games. Is another different thing.
Yes.
We found out about him. I was able to buy a couple of the little arcade machines with the Pac-Man and Galaga. And I didn't even notice this, but he started playing and looked around, and he was great at that, next level, even better than me. And it's just those things that he does, and he'll get on his little iPad at night, and he loves a good meal as well. He loves
Oh, yeah.
it. So usually if we say we're going to a restaurant, the night before he'll get on Google Maps. And I don't know how he learned to do this either. He gets on Google Maps and he starts out at our location, our home,
Okay. Okay.
and he knows the exact road, and he diagrams it, I guess, to get to the location.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get in the car the next day and he's always peeking around the seat, looking, trying to notice what the roads are and everything.
Want to make sure you're making the right
Oh
turn.
yeah, make sure that we're going to the right place. And he will get an attitude. He gets hangry, as a lot of people do. That happened a couple of days ago. We were out and got past lunchtime, and me and his mom, we had to get him together.
That's right.
He got a little angry and he had a little attitude, but I was like, hey, Dave, we're going to get you. I had to redirect him. Hey, we're going to go with this time. And that's another thing, as people know, a lot of times they will keep you on your toes, I'll say, because if you say you're going to do something, I just encourage all the parents to follow through, because they truly believe in that. That's the beauty of,
and they love a schedule.
yeah, that's the beauty of the autism spectrum. I always say that the people who are on the spectrum, they're usually so honest and so just pure, whereas we get going in the world and we kind of let the world, I say, poison us a little bit, because we'll get to the point where we don't keep our word with this. We might tell this lie, and that's just life. But for them, it's just, hey, when I ask them if they've done something, they're usually not gonna lie. They just own up to it. They know when they've done something, because it's the look in their eyes, and they know. And that was another thing that I had to encourage my wife with. I said, we have to instill a level of discipline in them, because people that, oh, I don't need to, do this, or, you can't let your child run wild, of course. But by the same token, I told them, I said, I'm going to have expectations for them within the scope of their understanding, of course.
Right.
And it's that helped us a lot as well, because I told her, I said, now I'm almost to the point, as Dad used to give us that eye, like,
That's right.
messing up.
Get right. That's what call it. Right. Look, you knew you better get right.
I'm able to use the get right look with them sometimes now. So I know they have a full understanding of that. So that's the thing. But yeah, those are the two boys. They're a little different. They are individuals. And that's the next thing I wanted to impress upon people, because, everyone, there's so many levels to the autism spectrum, and within the scope of neurodiverse people, because they have different ways of understanding, different ways of learning. So I just encourage people to give them a chance. They have personalities. You might not initially, but if you get around to it, then it makes so much of a difference. And I always tell people when I meet them, especially when they interact or they go out of their way to interact with my children, that is appreciated. Because I've met some people, and no disrespect to them, but they feel that, when they realize that they're, autistic, or they learn a different way, or they might not communicate the same way, they feel like they just have to kind of separate themselves from it and just not say a word. Whereas some of the people that we interact with, of course, as you know, because you're one of them, they have, how to communicate with them. You still acknowledge them. And that's the biggest thing for me. I want to respect and acknowledge everyone. I don't care what type of, I'll say, what type of neurodiverse personalities you might meet. I'm going to acknowledge that person the same way as I would anyone else. And that's so important. And anyone that's meeting or dealing with these kids, please do that. It makes a world of difference to not only the children, but the parents of the children, because you want to know that your child is seen. And that means so much to me. And the people that have gone out of their way and do that and interact with them, and the family members and friends and everything, that means so much more to us, because they're still people. They are people. They have their own personalities, and they're going to interact with you. It's just they're going to interact when you learn to interact with them. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm hoping this channel can do and help people that way, because we
Yeah.
all come in contact with these people at all times.
One of the most precious moments, and I'm not going to hold you long. I got 3 more questions. We're going to get through them. But one of the most precious moments that I think I ever witnessed, my son Devin. Okay, and Devin's going to be on one of my episodes because Devin's, Devin's got quite a story to tell as well. But he's a loving. He's a man now, but he's going to always be my baby. So I say he's a loving kid. But he has a unique relationship with David. And David, for Thanksgiving, we called you guys and we FaceTimed.
Yeah.
And David was into his game and he was playing. And his mom was on with me. And
Mhm.
so Devin walked up behind me and she said, David, there's Devin. And he lit up like a light bulb. And then he began to try to touch the screen like he could touch Devin's face.
Exactly.
Like he knows who he likes.
Mhm.
He knows who makes him feel the way he wants to feel, who makes him happy, who
Yeah.
makes him feel seen. Like they know these things. And that's one of the things that, you just discussed. You got to acknowledge them. They're people too. And so we're not going to get into that because, that gets me emotional.
Oh no, it's fine.
But
I think that was, I always say, and this is, don't, and no one hold me to this 100%, but what I've always said is I watch who my children interact with as far as just regular people that I come in contact with, because to me they have this great spirit of discernment and they know pure people, good people,
Mhm.
and they cling to those good people. And as you know, your son, he spends so much time, and he's always spent time with them when they were younger, and
Yeah.
way to acknowledge them and do things with them, and they've always been attached to him. And even last summer when we were in our family reunion, we were hanging out at the pool and he was just spending time with them, playing and everything. And they really have this spirit of understanding good people. I just believe that. I've seen it. Even some of the people that we've dealt with in the school system who might not have been the best and it might have been a little
Yeah.
negative. I watched how David and Ben interacted with them, and it was totally different from the instructors and the teachers that I know that had their heart and that were really there and really trying to help them. So I always say that that's kind of my vetting process, if you will. I utilize them, let them see how they interact with Ben and David, because they know good people. So
Right. Listen, that is discernment, and God gave them both that gift. So now I'm going to ask some questions some might consider difficult, but I know you won't because you're an open book kind of like me. But for other parents is why I'm going to ask these questions. So can you tell me what initially made you suspect that the boys were on the spectrum? And we don't want to go, well, we want to go wherever you want to go. Tell me what made you suspect, one, that Ben was on the spectrum, and then we'll go to David.
well, first of all, for me, initially, I noticed that his although his speech was fine initially, he started to script a lot, if you will. He would watch television or cartoons and he would just script from the cartoons, from the memory that he had and the memory, memorizing the show. And the communication barrier was getting wider and wider. I would say, hey, Ben, blah, 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 do this, or hey, Ben, can you get this? And it was no response initially. And of course, as you know,
Yeah.
our father being the great man that he was and still is, uh, he knew more about autism and understanding. And of course, he was such a well-read gentleman. He knew more about the subject than I did initially. And he just kind of pulled me to the side one day. And it was just matter of fact. It wasn't, anything negative or anything. He just said, hey, if his speech doesn't continue to progress, you need to look into getting him checked out for autism. And at that time, I hadn't fully thought of it being,
Mhm.
an autistic issue, or, him being neurodiverse. I just figured it might have been a speech delay or something. So that kind of hit me, and it really, hit Andrea, hit my wife, and she was so worried about it once we had discussed it. And even though I really was as well, I knew that the world, it wasn't going to be comfortable for us if both of us were exhibiting the same amount of fear, if you will. Not saying
Right,
that I wasn't fearful, but I couldn't put that out in front of her because I knew one of us had to be strong through this and
right,
be more
right,
positive, and not to um, speak negative of my wife, because it's not that. It's just, as we all know, some people think with a more fear or a little negativity when issues
right,
arise, and some people
right,
say, whatever. And as for me, like I said, it was still a level of fear, but I was always going to expect the best from it. I was going to be
right,
positive. My prayers were always positive, and they still continue to be to this day. And I knew that, I would lay my head, let's just say this, full transparency, I would lay my head down at night and I would worry about certain things, but I never would divulge that information or put that information out in front of my wife, because I knew that wasn't going to put her where she needed to be. And
so
I
you
had,
shouldered a certain amount of things just on you so that you could protect or provide a safe space for her.
yeah, because I knew she was going through so much already. And it's just like, I felt like that's something that I needed to take on.
Mhm.
Not saying she hasn't, helped out or anything, but
Right,
I was at home dealing with them daily and she was working. Then it was just like, okay, she's coming home. I want to make this thing as comfortable as possible. I'm going to do as
right,
much as I can. And that kind of led me to the research, if you will, the
right.
reading at night. I would stay up late nights and still do now.
Yeah, I've witnessed that.
Herbs and vitamins, things what other people were, initially, this was early on, it wasn't a lot of information there. So it's a lot more information available on the net now, but we're talking, you know, 15 years ago, there wasn't much information about it, and the number
Right,
increased astronomically. So it's a lot more information out there now. But back then, it was just like I was constantly looking at ways. I was trying to
right,
figure out how to help them with their diet. I was trying to figure out how I can get them their vitamins into them. They were having, full transparency, issues with, pooping
right,
every. They
right.
wouldn't use the bathroom for 2 or 3 days, and I was like,
Mhm.
"There's no way." I
That
knew that
yeah,
limited amount of knowledge I had. I knew that, there were a lot of gut issues sometimes reported
right,
autistic children. So I was like, I gotta make sure they're cleansed and get them out of there. And
right,
that we got onto the probiotic train and just making sure they ate better foods and
right.
all of those things down. And so it was like, it really challenged me to get on my job and make sure that I was doing as much as I could as the parent, and then also speaking positive things and being positive
Right,
about making sure that, you know even though I'm worried about this, I gotta stay positive and I gotta keep pushing and keep pushing. And
right.
it's been a lot, but I'm, we're
Done it.
still here.
Let me tell you something. I can already tell that we're gonna have to do a part 2 of this because
It's a
so
lot.
much to digest. One of those things will come back with part 2. In part 2 is this how you guys came to the decision of who would be with the boys because they needed someone with them almost 24/7, or someone who could, well, not 24/7, but someone, there had to be a decision because outside help wasn't an option or a choice. I'm going to say a choice because you wanted to know as much, and the both of you wanted to protect your boys and make sure that they were always good. But also financially, to have somebody in was cost of,
Yeah,
exorbitant.
yeah.
So we're going to talk about in our next interview how you guys came to that decision and a couple of other things. But to wrap this one up, my next question for you, because I know, okay, we talked about what made you be kind of suspicious when, about getting, with Ben's diagnosis. Now,
Mhm.
with David, I can remember that he was approaching 18 months old and he hadn't spoken.
And
And I
so,
can remember a conversation that your wife and I had in the car as we went out. Sisters, we love to do a little Christmas shopping and our after Christmas shopping. And we were out, and she began to express some things to me. And I remember her just breaking down. And she said, David is still not talking, sis. And I'm so worried, you know. And I said, you know what, sis? Whatever it is, we family, we got it. You
Mhm.
guys are brilliant with Ben. And so is that what, like his just not speaking, is that what made you concerned that David may be on the spectrum as well?
Yeah, just his lack of communication, and because his movements and things were fine, but his just lack of communication, the potty training was a little more difficult as well.
Mm-hmm.
And those things were just, by that time, like I said, we've been dealing with Ben, so I had a little more information as far as
Right,
what to look for.
right,
So those things were, they showed their head, and then I was just like, okay, we're gonna have to deal with that. And that, I know we'll wrap that in the next part too, but that was a challenging area as well,
mhm,
because my wife started to blame herself, and that made it worse for me because I didn't want her to feel that way based on, things,
mm,
because I'd had children before. So, none of them had any issues as far as being neurodiverse or on the autism spectrum. And she
right.
just kind of was like, well, it's got to be something with me. And,
Ugh, yeah,
regardless, I just wanted to put her in a safe space to let her know it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to say anything. It's if it's you or if it's me. Bottom line is we're doing this together, and we're going to tackle it together, and we're going to deal with it. Nobody cares how we got to this point. We're going to deal with what we're having to deal with right now and go forward.
right,
I don't care if it has something to do with you, me, or anybody else. That's not
right,
anything that I wanted to discuss. That's not anything that I wanted to even go into, because to me it was irrelevant. The biggest obstacle that I wanted to tackle was just making sure that Ben and David had the best life that they could, and we do the best by them as a family,
right,
as a husband and wife, as opposed to worrying about how this came about. Now, of course, research wise and everything, people do want to know, but I would never ever question if it was had
right.
anything with me or my wife, because at the end of the day, we both created them, and we're both their parents, and we love them equally. And that's all that matters to me.
So you kind of wrap this next question up, I think, in that description. But when you got the official diagnosis, initially with Ben, I'm going to just deal with Ben on this one because the second time I feel like you were a little bit more seasoned,
Mhm.
but it's that initial. So some parents may have only one diagnosis, they may have two, but that initial one, how did that make you feel?
Uh, Honestly, very helpless, because as a parent, and this, having children, the biggest thing that you want to be able to do is just be there for your kids and protect them. And I felt like there was nothing I could do to help. And that was based on me thinking of it as such an obstacle initially, honestly. And that was a lot for me. So I had to get to the point of understanding that my child is a gift and special, and I'm going to have to figure out how to tailor the needs and wants in his life, and learn to adapt myself instead of worrying about what I'm going to be able to do, work with what I've got and make the most of it. And it was a lot, because honestly, the things initially, being a that we had just had a child and it was a new dad, there were a lot of selfish thoughts in my mind. And what I mean by that is, I was like, man, I want to just be able to, you know have a conversation with him, or show him that love the traditional, hey son, I love you, and have him understand it. Or we go outside and just play catch or something like that. I wanted to do all those things, and it was just like, man, you know what? You're going to be able to get to that. We're going to get to that. We're going to come
Right.
to the bottom line is you need to figure out what's best for your son at this moment and not worry about these little traditional things that really
Right.
that happened anyway, that I was able to enjoy anyway once I understood and put myself in a
Mindset.
it's a submission, if you will, and just be
Mhm.
like, hey, this is what I need to do. This is the path I need to go. I'm still, like I said, I'm still gifted and blessed to have them as my children. It's
Right.
me to be the best dad that I can be and
Right.
make life as comfortable for them as I can, and do things and still enjoy it. Because when we go out now, I think about it, and we were out, at Dave and Buster's the other night shooting basketball and playing air hockey and everything, and it was so much fun. And people sometimes think that I'm joking, but those things mean so much to me. That family time, as you know,
Yeah.
I don't do a whole lot of going out or anything, or even when people, they see me in an ad, or oh, I see you in Walgreens, or I see you on
Mhm.
the commercial, or I saw your movie. People still post things like that, and they think I'm just like all about that. But man, look, that was one of the things when I went to shoot that movie for Lifetime. I was gone for like 2.5 weeks, and that was really hard for me. And not that I didn't, have full faith in Andrea and the family and being able to take care of them, but it was just like it's such a routine for me. I just enjoy seeing my boys daily. So it's like
Right.
I'm away from them now. It feels like I'm away from my right arm or something. It's just
Right.
like feels so different. So I just I was like, okay, I'm thinking that I have to be there because they're gonna be dependent on me, but now I'm kind of dependent on them because I get so used to being around them. But I consider that just a blessing and a gift in the fact that we are that close, and you know I'm developing and have developed that much love
Mhm.
and such a great relationship with them. So it's just like we even when we go out now, we were celebrating my birthday night before last, and we just went out to dinner for a couple of hours. And we know the routine. Usually, Andrea, both of us, when we go out, we'll have a little dinner, and we're like, okay, we got to get back to being in David. So,
Right. Well, let me say this. I've shared this with my son, well, countless people, honestly, because it took me a lot of years to recognize this. You are chosen because God knows that you can handle a thing. Okay. And he knew most especially that you were Superman because you were chosen twice. Okay. And the things that you're doing now is fulfilling the assignment that God has given you. And I am so godly proud of you. I just want you to know that sharing all of this information is going to be so amazing for people who were not chosen, but they need a little help.
mhm.
They need a roadmap. They need a blueprint. They need some guidance. They just need a shoulder to, or somebody that they can feel like, hey, they've been here, so there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I feel the same way about me and breast cancer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I had it. I don't wish to get it again. Mm-mm, I don't. But I would not change a moment of my diagnosis because it gave me some tools that changed me and made me better as a person. This made you research. This put you in a mindset that you wouldn't have been in before. This made you a different and better and improved version of yourself. And you have exhibited strengths because you learned that you could get through it with this. And so in other things, you're fearless. You don't think, oh, I can't do that, or
Yeah.
I can't make this movie, or I can't get that part, or I can't. You never think like that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most amazing things about you. So we just have a minute or so left because we're approaching our hour mark. I want to give you an opportunity, first of all, to tell the people where they can find you, where they can follow you for these adventures of life through Ben and David. And you have footage that you've kept from when they were little. So you'll be sharing those things as well as the things that you're doing now, the difficult decisions, the fun decisions, prom, all of the things that are going to happen in Ben and David's life. But I also want you to share with us if there's one thing that you want people, and I know there's numerous things, but if there's one thing that you want them to take away from your channel, um, navigating neurodiversity with Ben and David, what would that be?
Well, first of all, you can follow us on IG at Ben and David Life, and that's BenandDavidLife at Ben and David Life on Instagram.
Mhm.
And of course, the YouTube channel, as I stated, Navigating Neurodiversity with Ben and David. As far as what I would say, I want people, the main thing that I want people to take away from this is I just want to give people who feel hopeless understanding and hope. I want them to see that you can handle this. This is nothing that God has placed on you that you cannot handle. It may seem rough at a time, and you might look back and question things and why me and why is this happening to my child.
Mhm.
But just remember, and this is something that I always humble myself to remember, through the worst times that I feel, there's always someone going through something much worse.
Yeah.
And they're making it and they're striving. So for me to sit back and complain about Ben and David's diagnosis, I had to think about the parent who is dealing with, for instance, and this is just an example, we had a child in their class who was dealing with autism, cerebral palsy, and they were in a wheelchair.
Mm.
I mean, a lot of different challenges. And I had to think about the things that that parent is going through. And it made me want to, instead of feeling sorry for myself, it made me want to push myself up and be there for that parent and encourage them. Instead of worrying about your issues, you have to think about, hey, what can I do? Because even when you feel like you're at your lowest, you can always encourage others. And I try to
Yeah.
remember that and do that. That's something I live by. I always, even when I'm going through some of the roughest valleys that I've gone through, I try to realize there's something I can do. There's some way I can be a blessing, and that's always been part of my prayer. I always ask that I'm able to be a blessing to other people, and I feel like this channel is an avenue for me to do that. You've always encouraged me, and when you told me before I could see this, you were like, you have a ministry, and
Woo.
narrow mind was always thinking, oh, I'm not really built to be a minister, thinking of a traditional pulpit ministry. But
Right.
this to me is a very important ministry in itself. And it's to pass on that information, to encourage others, to let them know, and also for me to be encouraged by them, because it's going to pour back into me as well. I always tell people, you can only do so much. You have to pour out from your cup, and then people have to pour back into you. Or you
Yep.
have to receive this blessing, you pass it on, and you receive the next one, but you pass it on. And you reach back and you help others. And that's my biggest thing. You might not be able to help people monetarily, but just words of encouragement, a phone call to any parent that you know that's dealing with this. Just, hey, how are you doing? Because sometimes you're so busy fighting the fight for your child that you don't do the self-care, and you end up getting so stressed. And you have
Mm.
to, sometimes you just need encouragement, or just, hey, you're doing a great job. Or even if I can just tell parents, if we get, once we build our audience and we get on a live, just let them know that, hey, I'm proud of you. I know what it's like. I'm proud that you're making these moves. I'm proud that you're even subscribing to this channel to learn to be a better parent to your child. That means that you care, and that means you're taking that initiative. But everybody needs encouragement, and everybody gets tired every once in a while. It's nothing new, and people are ashamed to say it, of course, when they get
Right.
frustrated or they feel negative. But you have to remember that we're here to encourage each other. And that's what I want people to take from this channel, the encouragement. I want them to see the good. And as I said, I'm going to share the challenging sides and just the different programs that they can look for in their own state, and just try to make this walk a little easier. If I can remove a stone from your path, that's what I want to do. And I want people to remove the stones from my path if they can. If they can share information with me,
Right.
I just want this walk to be as smooth as possible, because at the end of the day, it's all about our children, and we all want them to live the best life that they can.
Well, there you have it, folks. BJ is building a community. He's building a community for support. It's not just about him. It's not just about Ben. It's not just about David, but it's about anybody who has a child on the spectrum dealing with neurodiversity, whether you're a friend of that person, whether you are a relative of that person, a parent, it doesn't matter. It's a community. And it also will serve as a space where we, as relatives and friends, can learn to support the parents of
Yeah.
children on the spectrum and who are dealing with neurodiversity. So I am encouraging you to stay tuned. You're going to have some things that will make you laugh with Ben and David. You'll have some things that will make you cry. They are quite the characters. You
Yes.
will get a peek into the lives of their parents, how they cope with and deal with having two boys on the spectrum, and how they have learned to allow them to thrive, how they have loved them, encouraged them, and just raise them. And I think that's the coolest thing, because if you're new to this, or even if you're in the middle and you feel just a little bit overwhelmed, here is a place that you can go to see that you are not alone. And BJ is very transparent and open book. So reach out to him if you want, if you have questions. It can be at Ben and David Life on Instagram. He gave you that information already. And on YouTube, it's Navigating Neurodiversity with Ben and David. I want to
Yeah.
make sure I get it right.
Yeah.
Ask him the questions. I know he'll be coming out.
Hmm.
We discussed, he shared with me that who'll be coming out with just some tips, tricks. Just I don't want to call them tricks because it's not.
It's just
Not just
recommendations to.
recommendations. Thank you for the word. Um, for kind of dealing with different circumstances that can arise. We're working on a few ebooks
Yeah.
uh, with him, and so and then just even if you want to just talk and just work through some things, he'll be doing some one-on-ones as well. So I want you to stay tuned to his channel, and we will be doing a part two for Live with Lorna on EPM. I can't tell you whenever I can talk my brother into it, but BJ,
This is a passion for me. You've lit a fire, and I thank you for it. So I want to, not to interrupt you, I'm sorry, but
well, you're
you've
good.
really shown me the way that I can reach these people, because I'm a man of a certain age at this point. And actually, my older sister is more social media savvy than I am. So uh, I just realized that, the number of people that we can reach with this and help out.
Yeah,
And so it's it's becoming a strong, it's always been a passion of mine, but just being
right.
able to see that if we can help people navigate this road and make it smoother, then I'm here for those things. And
Yeah,
any ways that we can help, please comment and leave questions, or let
yeah,
us know what subjects you want to tackle or what questions you have, and we'll
right.
try our best to address those in videos and live sessions. And I'm hoping to build this even larger, where we can take this on the road and maybe do seminars and things in different cities, because
Yes.
stated there's so many different people from all walks of life that are dealing with these things. And I want it to be just a community of brother and sisterhood, and being able to reach back and help each other out. And it doesn't matter, because it's affecting African Americans, you know, Anglo Saxons, everyone, Hispanics
Right.
is dealing with
Yes.
this. There is no age, race, or color on it, and we all need that assistance and that uplifting. So we're just going to make that work.
And in closing, I would like to say, until there's a cure, we're going to just increase the compassion, increase the love, increase the understanding, increase the knowledge. And that is what this interview is, a little bitty step toward doing. So I thank you for coming to sit with me. I thank you for your transparency. I thank you for allowing people into your life so that they can be helped. And I will keep you guys posted when we will do a part 2. Until then, peace.
Thank you.
Thank you for sitting with us, BJ.